weekends. So Curtis, what exactly is a long weekend?
A long weekend is usually a weekend where there's an extra day off, and that day off is either going to be before the weekend on a Friday or after on a Monday. It could be a national holiday. It can be just an extra day off your boss might give you to make it a 3-day weekend or a long weekend.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that we have one long weekend that's actually 4 days, and that's the Easter long weekend. So we have the Good Friday on the Friday and Saturday, and then Easter Sunday, but that's a normal Sunday. We normally have that day off. And then Easter Monday is another national holiday. So what about, we have some holidays that are actually specific to the day. Like we have some holidays that fall on a Monday. It's like the first Monday of the month, for example. But we have other holidays like Canada Day, for example, which is on July 1st. That one can fall on any day of the week, right? It depends on the day of the calendar. So how would we talk about that day? For example, if Canada Day was on a Wednesday, like how would you talk about it or describe that day to somebody?
It would be Canada Day Wednesday or Holiday Wednesday. It would be your it's
a holiday on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a day off. Exactly. Yeah. And at least in Canada, again, we have provincial holidays, we have national holidays, and I don't think we have regional holidays, but I know in many other countries around the world they do, and each place is going to be a little bit different. So, okay, now let's talk a little bit about these long weekends. And we're actually going to be, for us, we sort of have to speak about what other people usually do on these long weekends, because we have always had to work on those weekends. Mm-hmm. Why have we not been able to enjoy these long weekends?
Because we've been working in the service industry, and we've been working usually in jobs that are like the delivery service, where people are at home with their families, hanging out on long weekends. People just want to stay at home and relax, or they choose to go and go out to restaurants and stuff like that, order delivery, stay home with their families.
Maybe they're visiting from out of town, for example, and they're staying at a hotel, they're going to a restaurant and things like that. So when we have people that are working in the service industry, obviously you need employees serving at the restaurant, delivery drivers bringing you things, and people working at hotels to attend to the guests. So for us, that doesn't mean that we don't have long weekends.
No.
But for us, it's a little bit different. Like, for example, with the delivery company, we went away. We had weekends and long weekends sometimes, right? But was it on a weekend, or how did we do that?
We were pretty flexible because we could kind of plan ahead and look at, can we get other people to cover for us? Can we maybe, because we wanted to keep the business operating and still serving the clients. So what we would do is we would plan ahead and get our other co-workers to cover for us and to take over. And it would sometimes fall in the middle of the week. It would be maybe a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, something like that.
Well, yeah, it was usually in the middle of the week, because for us, the peak times or the busy times for our business was always on the weekend. And for example, Monday was a slower day. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday was a little bit busier. So if we were going to have a day off or a long weekend, it was usually, and it depended. Sunday sometimes is busy, sometimes not. So it was either Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, or Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, for example, and we would get people to cover for us. And now, these days, I'm the one that makes the schedule, actually. So I have sort of a pattern in my schedule. We have 2 weekends that we have off. One of them is like a normal weekend where we have Saturday and Sunday off. And that's kind of like a novelty for us still, even though we've had it for 3 years. And then the other weekend, which is actually my preferred weekend is on Sunday and Monday off, right? And we have the ability to maybe add an extra day if we don't have any bookings, for example, with our students. If we see that far enough in advance, sometimes we can book the Saturday off or Tuesday to have a real long weekend, which is pretty exciting. But that actually just reminded me of something else. So going back to the service industry, there are lots of people that don't really have this Monday to Friday job. Like if you work at a bank or you work in some sort of corporate wherever, you're probably going to work from Monday to Friday and then have Saturday and Sunday off. But for people in the service industry, we still work 5 days a week, sometimes 6, but we work 5 days a week. But if we're working on the weekend, that means that our weekend is actually during the week. So, for example, if your weekend was Tuesday and Wednesday,
Okay.
how would you refer to Monday?
Monday would be my Friday.
Right.
Because Tuesday's my Saturday.
Saturday. Yeah. And the Wednesday would be your Sunday.
Right.
Right? Because the next day on Thursday is the first day you have to go back.
That would
so
be
what
my
do we
Monday.
call that?
Right.
So let's break that down because that was really, really confusing for anybody that has never heard this before. Okay. So in the service industry, when you have a weekend off or 2 days off in a row, for example, whatever your day off is, the day before that you can refer to as your Friday, which basically means I have tomorrow off. That's what you're communicating.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the last day that you have off becomes your Sunday, which would communicate, this is the last day that I have off before I have to go back to work. But we don't normally talk about my Sunday. More commonly, we refer to our Monday, which is the first day that we have to go back to work. So yeah, that's funny. It came to my mind as we were talking. I thought, oh, this is funny.
Yeah, it's like whatever the day lands on or falls on.
Yeah, exactly. So we actually wanted to talk about this topic today because this last weekend, it was the May long weekend, right?
Yeah.
And that weekend is a little bit special, especially in our region. I think all across Canada, actually. But what is special about the May long weekend?
It's really the kickoff to outdoor activity season in Canada. The weather's warming up. It's getting nicer. People want to start doing activities like going to the lake, going fishing, going hiking, like anything to get outdoors and enjoy the warmer weather in Canada. So it's really the kickoff to that season.
Exactly. And the people, I think, in Canada, for me, I used to like to go snowboarding in the winter, so I didn't feel like I was really cooped up in the house all winter. But I think a lot of people, they kind of feel that way. It's like summer is the time to get out and enjoy yourself and be able to walk around without needing to have a jacket on and be uncomfortable while you're outside. You can actually go outside and enjoy the weather and be comfortable in a t-shirt, for example, and just really, have that experience. So after the winter, people are eager to get outside, and camping is sort of the iconic outdoor activity that we would do. Totally. And what's really ironic about that, everybody is like, oh, I'm going to go camping for the long weekend. Yeah. I'm going to go, and they have this plan, and, they're going to it depends. It's either like a family thing where they're going with their kids, or maybe they're going to party, to each their own. But,
which happens a lot on long weekends.
Which happens a lot. Yeah. Actually, there's a nickname for the May long weekend. Do you remember what it is?
Is that the May 24?
Yeah. And what else does that coincide with?
24 cans of beer? Or May 24th. Obviously.
Yeah. But I don't think it always falls on May 24th because it's always a Monday. This year it did, which is, I don't know. Oh. I'm not going to get into it, but this year it was May 24th, but I imagine each year it changes. So whatever. So anyway, there's something else that usually happens during this weekend that really kind of puts a damper on that. What's that?
That it rains always when on the long weekend. It's just like a ironic kind of thing where if any weekend out of any, the long weekend will be the rainy one in the May long weekend. So
exactly. We have beautiful weather all week, and the clouds start to roll in, and you see the weather forecast, and I've got plans to go camping, and it's going to rain all weekend.
Yeah.
So there's also like a parade that typically happened in our region in Kelowna. It was called the May Days Parade, and it was sort of like a little, I don't know what it was, a fair, I think, with different things. Like they had a sporting field with, I don't know, games and
amusement park rides like roller coasters and a Ferris wheel. I think,
exactly. Mm-hmm. Things like that. Entertainment anyway in our neighborhood. And they always had a parade. So you can imagine that you're looking forward to this event. You're waiting for the beautiful spring weather and to be outside enjoying yourself. And it rains most of the time.
It's going to rain on your parade.
Yeah, exactly. If you don't know, that's an expression. Yeah, so for us, we actually recently, we had a long weekend. It wasn't an official long weekend, but we took 3 days off during sometime in April, I think the second or third week of the month. What did we do for our long weekend?
We went to this cool little town. We wanted to discover some unseen territory, somewhere where we've never visited. So we rented this cute little house on a beach in this little town, La Peñita. Is that what it was called?
La Peñita.
Yeah, that's what it was called. And it was a really interesting place. It had a cool looking pool, and it was right next to the beach. And we'd been so busy working, we can't see sunsets a lot of the time. So to see a sunset for more than one night in a row was a real
special experience.
Yeah, a highlight for me, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. I think for me, that weekend was something that I really needed to just relax. I'm actually normally on a long weekend, I'm eager to go out and do something and have a story that I can tell about later. But this weekend, I had just been working so much that I really needed to just chill out and do nothing and not really worry about cooking. Like normally when we go and we stay at a place, this was an Airbnb actually. We got a last minute deal on this. Honestly, it was like a slice of paradise. You went and there's this pool and you can see the ocean and like the sunset. You could watch it right there. It was great. You could hear the waves crashing at night. And there was a suite. It was like a little suite with a kitchenette and you can cook and things like that.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Mm-hmm.
So for me, I normally am quite prepared and I like to bring food and maybe cook something special. Nah, this weekend, I was just like, I don't care. Let's just eat out. So for me, the highlight was spending a lot of time by the pool and just doing nothing. And I don't normally do that, but I really needed to that weekend. So it was a good chance to get some R&R. What is R&R?
Rest and relaxation. Yeah,
that's right. So if you need some R&R, now you know.
Yeah, long weekends are perfect for R&R. And I was able to do some great meditation in that area too. And it was just the right environment for that. So I think we both needed that in a big way.
Yeah. So that's a little bit about long weekends. I'm sure that you have your own preferences and what you love to do on the long weekend, but I hope that you enjoyed this conversation.